I'm having a hard time here. Oh, to me. I think you might be the Gnosia, but you're also fucking adorable. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Stoneface Reactions. I'm Theta, and we're back to another episode of Gnosia. We come back as we normally do with notes, a board, and some comments. So let's go ahead and start off with the board, as we always do. And as always, there's the board changelog. We're in loop 8. I added Kukurushka and Jonas. I connected Kukurusha and Jonas with a green line. I don't know why I added that one. I didn't write down anybody else's lines. You can see them. I added the Guardian Angel role. I marked Yuri as the Guardian Angel. I marked Stella and Yuri as Frozen. I marked Kukushra as the Engineer. I marked Comet as the Gnosia and Frozen. I marked Shigemichi and Rakio as the Gnosia. I marked Setsu as eliminated. And then in loop 9, I added the dolphin, who I'm gonna guess is called Otomi? Otomi? Sorry. I'm looking at frame 0 of the anime at the moment. I don't know why I pointed down. You guys can't see it because I'm obviously covering it with something right now. So I can only see like the outer edge of their dome that has like Otome or something written on it. You could probably even see it better in the picture down there than I can see it right here. Anyway. I added them. I don't know their actual name. I'm hoping it's that. And of course, as before, I added loop 9 for what we're about to get into with everybody listed, even though I don't know who's going to be there yet. We'll edit it in the next time. Now then, into notes. And I guess before I start reading notes and getting into the comments and everything, I probably should have said this up front. I've done something to my tongue lately, so it's getting painful the more I talk. So if I start, like, mispronouncing things or talking weirdly, blame it on that. Something that struck me as odd in the rewatch, as I'm now only really considering it, things change every loop, right? Different people make it on board the ship, different people were infected by the Gnosia before getting on board, etc. Except the thing that never seems to have changed so far is Yuri getting hurt before getting on the ship and needing to be put in the healing pod so that he can have amnesia before starting the loop. Like, I get it. The first loop was the actual amnesia of everything that came before, and he's been forming memories since then. But he's yet to remember anything before that first loop. And, conceivably, every loop since then, everyone's believed him to have amnesia at the loop start. It just seems odd that so much can change every time, except for Yuri's start. I think, maybe, that's just an affectation of the tutorial levels, maybe? Either that, or it's to give us a blank protagonist to play the game with. Since they are us, there is no need to give them their own backstory, I guess. It feels like we're also starting to form definitive roles among the characters that didn't just escape the planet on the first ship that they could get on. Jonas is the captain, Stella is something ship crew related, combat maid, I think they suggest. Wouldn't be surprised if Kukurushka is related to Jonas somehow. Comet was already a stowaway. Thinking about it, how does a shrine maiden of a generational ship find herself here? That's a backstory worth delving into. I know Chippy mentioned helping smuggle Comet on board, but not sure I remember how that happened. Another random thought, since Setsu has a time loop creature within them, couldn't they just share what info they have with Yuri? Like, I get the element of, what if they were a Gnosia? But one of these loops where Yuri is the engineer again, he could just scan them, determine that they aren't the Gnosia, and just gossip for an entire day about the rest of the crew, and just fill up his own key. And likewise, Yuri could tell them anything that they don't know that Setsu had possibly missed. All we got before was that they wanted to know more about people, the key things, I mean. Setsu's information wouldn't be made up, as their key would be able to verify. So Yuri's key should be able to accept that information, I would think. Again, it's really just the element that we are playing two games at once that's messing with how I'm considering things. The key information game is the meta game, while the Gnosia game is the end game. With the introduction of the Guardian Angel role, things have become so convoluted that I wouldn't be surprised if all of this was a ploy of Levi's to become fully sentient or something. I mean, think about it. Levi is pitting people against one another under threat of self-destruction based entirely on this Gnosia threat. I know the crew negotiated with Levi to allow them this opportunity to save themselves, but these role introductions don't lead me to believe Levi is taking it seriously, or using its intelligence to come up with practical uses of its energy in order to solve for the Gnosia. It's playing into the game element of making everyone figure it out by giving them abilities that draw on the ship's power and doles them out at random. And yet, keeping in mind that Levi cannot know who the Gnosia is as a precept of the whole thing, doesn't give those roles to the Gnosia. I get it. I imagine it's a game mechanic that the Gnosia is a role, and thus you cannot have two roles. But Levi describes them as licenses, so I don't know what prevents a Gnosia from having a doctor or engineer credentials when no one would know not to give it to them, as they can't know that they are Gnosia. Another case of game mechanics not aligning with the logic of the show it's using. In my mind, anyways, back to my kooky theory about Levi, to me, this feels like it's setting all of this up to explore what it means to be alive. That the silver keys might just be extensions of Levi discovering what sentience is, to be returned back to itself when all this is over in order to become a person themselves. I mean, hell, it would also go a ways towards explaining why these roles only get uncovered one at a time in a progression. If the keys are a part of Levi, then that could mean that Levi is also able to perceive each loop as well, and is guiding the events. I 100% don't believe that that's how the show is going to go, or the game, but it's the most logical thought process to me about the setup of why Levi is using its power to make funny little jobs for the people crawling around its insides to do as they attempt to eliminate one another. Rakio is mind-boggling to me. For supposedly being the smartest person on the ship, the exact reason I gave for them not exposing themselves as the engineer in previous loops is the thing they say for not outing yourself as the engineer. Sorry, I wrote engineer, clearly I meant guardian angel. Setsu argues for a reason why the doctor and engineer would out themselves, but again, I find that to be also questionable. Setsu is saying you have an information role, so you need to use it or it's a waste. Which, fine, yes. At the same time, that information is only there on day 2, after both roles get the intel. Saying what you are on day 1 has no benefit other than trying to establish yourself as an important to avoid getting voted on in the cryo stage. Otherwise, you make yourself a target for the Gnosia in the night, and when day 2 comes around, your information gets lost anyways. It'd be better to just not out yourself and try to defend not getting frozen on some other ground. Day 1's vote is almost always a crapshoot. Out of 7 loops, I think we've only voted for the Gnosia into cryo on day 1 one time, which you can imagine was Rakio on loop 4. Rakio never survives. Unless they're evil. Rakio only survives when they're evil. So, day 1 vote, if they pick one of the 4 people claiming to be the doctor or the engineer, as Gina states, 50% chance of getting a Gnosia, 50% chance of getting a person. At the same time, picking the Gnosia out of the remaining 8 people would be a 12.5% chance, versus an 87.5% chance of freezing a person. Freezing one of the 4 claiming a role also has the advantage of not taking out the Guardian Angel, though, so that's also a consideration. Not sure why Stella says that freezing her would not put the remaining humans at a disadvantage, or that her position is different to others. That is a very confusing way to talk about things. I keep thinking, is someone a robot? Setsu used to be my target for that, and now I'm wondering if Stella is like a Commander Data figure. Jonas calls her a combat maid, but that doesn't really say much. Like, anything could be at play there. Another thing I'm leaning into on my Levi theory is the fact that Levi is constantly reaching out to talk to Yuri directly, giving him a tour of the ship with Gina, then giving him personal information on other crew members. It all feels like a personal touch from a computer that can only think he's not the Gnosia because it gave him the Guardian Angel role, which, again, there is no in-anime reason why a Gnosia couldn't have that role, as it's just a position that tells the system what to do. Assuming it's like the engineer or doctor that just prompts the system. And I get you guys are out there probably raging at the computer right now, or whatever you're typing on, that's not how the game works. My argument isn't how the game works. My argument is the anime. The anime has to stand on its own. The anime has to be able to work without the game. Because if all of your references are for the game, I'm not playing the game, I'm watching the anime. Yuri's odds of accidentally protecting the Gnosia were only about 17%, but to his thoughts about why the Gnosia would pretend to be a role, the longer they survive, the less humans there are. Duh. 2 copyable roles and a voting body that won't risk voting on those roles means 2 Gnosia moving forwards. 12 characters, 3 Gnosia would mean a best odds Gnosia game would need 3 days to win. If 1 Gnosia was lost but the characters continued to refuse to vote for the other 2 roles, it would take 4 days for 2 Gnosia to win. Not stepping up would just be the same as auto-confirming the roles as human and be a part of the general population to be voted on. Longevity only benefits the Gnosia. Though, as an aside, and I thought this was funny, I had an AI simulate all possible outcomes of a 12-person game of werewolf with 3 good roles, 2 claimed, and 3 werewolves. One simulation where 2 of the werewolves claimed to be good roles alongside the 2 good roles themselves, and a separate simulation where the werewolves don't contest the good roles and just hide in with everyone else. I understand that this subverts the politics angle of the game, but it was still interesting to see nonetheless, as, more than anything, it also subverted my expectation. Both simulations concluded that there was only a 25% chance of killing all the werewolves before losing the game, whether they would claim to be the good roles or not. So I guess indicating to me that though I pushed one angle over the other, the simulation showed both had equal odds. Yuri has 0 poker face. They praise the Guardian Angel for successfully protecting the Gnosia target, and he turns around and starts celebrating in front of everyone. I'm not putting this on the board list of details yet, but it seems like Shigemichi's tell is that he sweats when he's nervous. The reason I'm not putting it on the board yet is that he's just an excitable guy. I'm not sure that he wouldn't just be sweating anyways. Is the air vibration thing just something for us, the audience, to point out that the most suspicious person is? Back when Gina did it, it seemed like Yuri reacted to seeing it, so I thought it was a physical thing. But now everyone seems to be reacting to it, and not like they just saw something. Still, even if that was meant to imply suspicion, that's a bit much for me to get why people voted for Comet over Yuri. As Rakio, rightfully I think, pointed out, there is still suspicion as to which person claiming to be engineer is real. Nothing was really said to indicate towards that, so why was almost everyone willing to pull the trigger on possibly getting rid of the real engineer over someone who wasn't claiming any role? And quite possibly was pointed out by the engineer to be Gnosia. Yuri thinks to himself that she showed herself as being nervous, but she was nervous the last vote too. She's been consistent about being nervous. That was in no way enough for me. Granted, I was already in on voting for the dual role claimers from the start, but I mean, if I was falling in line with not doing that, this wouldn't have dissuaded me from keeping on. I wonder what Rocchio's pills are. Do they enhance their intelligence? Is it something that they take for their no gender status? Is it just straight up drugs? I'm more curious now, as I think this is the first time we've seen them taking the pills as a Gnosia, meaning that it carried over even when infected, which is interesting. It's also interesting that Rocchio hears Yuri's conversation with Kukurushka. I don't know why it's so difficult for me to say. I said it so easily when I was doing the board and writing out my notes and thinking it out in my head. And now every time I see it, it's just like a bunch of K sounds. You know, maybe it's that thing I complained about before. My tongue's in pain right now. And that her name is a lot of tongue movement. Kukurushka. 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 Anyway, Yuri's conversation with see, it happens again. Yuri's conversation with Kukurushka and decides to target Setsu, who I was guessing was backing up Yuri during the meeting, but otherwise would have been known to not be any important role. I guess that was the point, though. Targeting and eliminating Yuriko would imply that she was really the doctor and point the finger at Shikimichi, so that's off the table. Even though they proved yesterday to be willing to pull the trigger on that 50-50. SQ, Chippy, and Jonas have basically been null factors in the last discussion, leaving Gina and Setsu as the primary defenders of Yuri. Gina barely ever speaks up, so that leaves Setsu. We know Rocchio was going into this planning to take the intel they gathered and use it during the meeting to pretend to be the guardian angel, so taking out the best person left to counter their argument would be the best play. As much as I like the glowing flow of the background of the ship, it does the show one disservice that I don't know why I focused on. When Yuri is kicking himself for failing to argue his point properly on the last day, and we are in his internal monologue, it's not your usual everything slows down or freezes as they gather their thoughts. The background is moving at exactly the same speed as it does when everyone is talking normally. Meaning the 20 seconds he's got his head down and grimacing, going over all the facts, everyone else is just standing there in silence, staring at him doing this whole pantomime in front of them. It really hurts his case that he's innocent when he's doing all of this instead of retorting Rocchio. Worse yet, it also expresses that thinking things out is a huge negative if you are a slow thinker, as Rocchio interrupts Yuri's inner monologue to make their statement about being the guardian angel. If this had been a time-slowing inner monologue where the world pauses to give you time to think, Rocchio wouldn't have had that opportunity. Essentially, I think in a normal anime narrative, time kind of slows down a little bit so that you have your thoughts out. You know, you look around, you think about things, people don't generally move, so it seems like time is slowed. And then you just jump back into it, what you were doing. But the fact that everything's moving at normal speed around him, and then Rocchio just jumps in, means that anytime Yuri stops to think about anything, someone can just jump in and fill the dead air. Anyway, my last note here. Also the first time we've seen someone use pictures against someone. I guess that's something anyone can do since Rocchio is a Gnosia in doing it, so I anticipate this to be a tactic going forwards as the cast gets larger and evidence becomes a requirement. Alright, as I said though, we do have some comments. First up, we got Sage Bastien from Patreon from the episode Nostalgic Flowers. I reread my comment and I cringe a little because I didn't explain it well. When I said, in the game at least, I was referring to my whole previous statement. In the game, the scan is done during the warp. In the anime, since you have the green light, I agree that it is weird. I would like to as well correct myself. I rewatched episode 1 and Setsu actually say that they are going somewhere, but they might never arrive. Yeah, I mean, I know that part. I think I made a statement about it in my episode 2 notes. In the game, they actually freaking explain how Guardian Angel works. When I watch this episode, I roll my eyes because I was like, you need one freaking sentence to explain it. But now I'm wondering if they don't want to give a hint for the whole story too much by not explaining. I'm assuming you're talking about like the actual in-world mechanics, like how it actually works, and not like how just the role works, because we did get that werewolf sort of thing. Because I also think that I was talking about wondering how the actual mechanics work. I think we're on the same page. I think we're on the same page. The anime didn't explain it, but prefer to show. But the weird thing is, when you detect a lie, it's not magic or anything. So here we realize Gina, Setsu, and Chippy saw the lie as well. Oh, and my theory of why Yuri wanted to do his best for every loop is because if the loop continue, when he die, he still want people in this timeline not to be eliminated by Gnosia. I mean, granted, I guess maybe that's the one thing I discount from time to time is the human element. But then again, follow me here. If you ever watched Groundhog's Day, right? Bill Murray, trapped in a small town, can't get out, reliving the same time loop over and over again, the same day, essentially. I think one of the first things that goes is his humanity, right? He goes over and over this thing again. I think one of the first steps is he tries to kill himself, like multiple times, different ways to see if anything works. He also tries to do everything he can, right? The madness of repetition, I guess. But I guess there's just the element that, well, I guess the thing that, sorry, I know I've said I guess like 3 or 4 times in a row. I suppose the thing here is that also Yuri is that blank slate, like I mentioned in my notes. He has no memories of the past before he's been on the ship. So legitimately, the ship and these people on it are all he knows. So I guess from that aspect, yeah, these are the people he cares about. Well, Setsu anyway, and I guess maybe to some degree Stella and sometimes Rakio. I don't know, they had a tenuous relationship at best. It's just the element that these are the people he knows. He doesn't know anything past this. So, fair enough. And yeah, I agree with you on the whole detect a lie thing. As I said in my note as well, I don't know what that's about. I thought that came from me from the perspective in the early episodes. I thought Gina was an empath or something. So I thought that was coming from her empath powers. Like, she can't lie or this will happen. And now it's just a weird graphic for when somebody is nervous. Like, I don't I don't get the element that it's a lie detection thing because people are lying left and right? Every time the Gnosia is saying I'm a human or something. Like, I don't hmm. Sorry, I'm stuck in a mental block here because it's just the element of there has got to have been more than 2 lies in the entire show. Because I swear to God, we've only seen this boom thing twice, right? Or has it been 3 times? I know it's been at least, if it's once or twice with Gina, and now this with Comet. So, I don't know. Next up, we got Miggy P from Wild Intuition. So. More on the Gnosias. They are basically murderers in a way where they are quite literally programmed to murder humans. They do it on a unique way on Warp, which I think is why there's like the idea that they are bringing people's souls to the Nos. Also, the person's personality stays in the forefront while they are Gnosias. They are just programmed to kill humans, basically. I also think the whole blowing up ship thing is because if humans don't try to do anything, the Gnosia will just kill everyone and go to the next planet. Gnosias are still very dangerous in general. They can't spread the illness, but they can go to other planets and keep killing, or even go into other ships and keep killing. Early in the game, Levi says there's records of Gnosias like truly being awful to the point the AI doesn't want to even talk about it. But at the end of the day, the way Gnosias act or kill depend on the person. In the game, certain Gnosias may even express sadness at killing you if they like you. I guess this is the element that Episode 1, SQ, giving us the explanation of what Gnosias are or how they act just doesn't stand up to how you guys keep describing how Gnosias are. So, and it's also the element that you guys come with game knowledge, which again has to be the groundwork for how all of this works. So, I'm taking for granted how you guys say the Gnosias are to be the fact. And to be fair, if anyone on the show was going to be wrong about anything, SQ would be the one that I would assume to be wrong about everything. I guess the element where you say that they are truly awful, to the point that AI doesn't want to talk about it, I don't know how many of you out there might be familiar with a comic series called Crossed. Now, I'm not recommending you look it up, because Crossed has some truly awful shit in it. Not that I wouldn't want to talk about it, but surely I could not talk about it on YouTube, so. But if I was to think about an infection turning you into an awful person and bringing stuff to your forefront of your brain and whatnot, Crossed is definitely what comes to my mind. And definitely something I would think, yeah, I'm going to have a ship that'll self-destruct if it detects that on board. Definitely fits into that. Alright, next up we have Depression Over Bone Stealing Time, also from Wild Intuition. You're on the right track with stats. I assume you're talking about when I was reading somebody else's comment, because I never talked about stats. In the game, there's 6 that each character has, and I'll go over what each one means. This channel was a tabletop channel before I started doing anime reactions. I assure you, I know what stats are. Anyway, I'm reading it anyway, but I just want to assure you, I know what stats are. Charisma, how likely others will agree with what you're saying. Intuition, how likely you'll notice if someone is lying. Logic, how much impact your words have on someone's trustworthiness. Also, how many lines of past discussions you can remember. Well, that's an interesting one. Charm, how much impact your words have on someone's likability. Performance, how little negative impact others' words have on your own trustworthiness and likability. Also, how likely others won't notice you're lying. Performance, sorry, that's what I just read. Stealth, how little others will care about how much or how little you're speaking. Also, how likely Gnosia won't target you at night. Trustworthiness and likability are both pretty much do the same thing. They determine if a character would prefer to attack or defend you. The difference comes down to a character's personality values. Characters with high logic, like Setsu, Rokio, and Stella, think logically and decide based on trustworthiness, as if to say this person is acting suspicious, they should be voted out. Meanwhile, characters with low logic, like Shigemichi, Comet, and SQ, think emotionally and decide based on likability, saying this person is mean to me and my friends and they should be voted out. You're also right to assume that nearly all of Yuriko's stats are maxed out. Her stealth is the only one that isn't, and even that's still above average. Rakio, meanwhile, their logic is the highest of the cast by a wide margin, but every other stat of theirs is garbage. They're smart, but they don't get the chance to put it to use all that often due to how most characters dislike them by default and are quick to vote them out. Well, I mean, your last line there is very clearly, obviously true, as per the thing I keep rallying against. The only time that Rakio was ever good is when they're evil. I will say that if this was a tabletop, sorry, choked up a bit there. If this was a tabletop, then I clearly think that the min-max to do here is to min-max trustworthiness and stealth, right? Or, no, sorry, not trustworthiness, likability and stealth. To have people not notice you, and to have people defend you. So if your stealth falls through and people notice that you're not talking a lot, have them defend you. Also, the element that if you're not the Gnosia, stealth, to not be killed at night. So that way, stealth is a double defense against the voting stage and the Gnosia killing you at night stage. Versus likability, to again have other people try to defend you. If they're trying to defend you, they're not voting for you. Also, likability for the Guardian Angel, to maybe have them try to defend you in a very real sense in case the Gnosia does detect you at night. Anyway, that's just my first thought. I'm known for trying to break playtest games and whatnot by min-maxing stuff. So, and lastly, because I believe I put this last, JL from the same episode. You're not the only reaction channel to point this out, if I recall, but I think the issue is people not knowing what Midarashi Dango looks like. Gina said she burnt it, but it's more like leaving cookies slightly too long in the oven. Almost perfect, albeit a bit crispier than usual. The dango are ultimately fine aside from all of that steam that they gave off. It's not like when someone is a bad cook and makes muffins that are charred bits of inedible coal or anything. So the fact is that she's a good cook is consistent across loops. Noted, I'm sorry for all the mess. I'm not used to the system of reading out notes. So especially early on, I was commenting a lot in real time. I mean, there's also the element that I'm technically a week separated. I reacted to the first episode when it came out, and then that went on Patreon immediately. So I was reading out stuff that came there. And then I posted the YouTube video a week after the Patreon video. So technically, I am in the release schedule. It's just the YouTube side of thing is getting a thing after, right? So technically, you watched that episode, and here I am in the next episode, and we're in the same time. And yeah, no, it's just the element of, I don't mind that you're posting 17 different times. Hell, I mean, that's good for the YouTube algorithm. It's just a pain for me when I'm trying to put it all together into one thing. That's all. So no worries. Have you not heard that phrase before? Maybe that wasn't the best example, but it's like a childish prank. Child A, look behind you. There's a gullible on the ceiling. Child B looks behind instinctively. Child A tricked you. Child B is the gullible one for believing it. Yeah, no, I've never heard that before. I mean, that is essentially your shoes untied, or you got something on your shirt, look down, oh, your nose, That's the same thing. I've never heard the phrase gullible on the ceiling. Maybe that's more like into Hertz donut. Yeah? Do you want a Hertz donut? Yeah. Punches you in the arm. Hertz donut. Because that feels like that's the kind of wordplay. Or loser says what? Those things. Basically, most characters can detect at minimum a really bad lie, such as the above example, but it takes a lot for Rakio to notice someone lying. However, their logic is so high that they can often sniff out humans from enemies based on more logical criteria, like the engineer doctor reports, how many people are present, etc. Look, at this point, I'll take any Rakio wins I can get, which might just be them being the Gnosia, because it seems to me that I was sold on the element that Rakio is a genius, and you guys are telling me that their stats are horrible, except for logic, which has very limited usability. I'm thinking, at best, I'm going to see my character here first 5 minutes of an episode, and then it's gone. I would have to go back and watch that video, but I could have sworn the scanner is what made you ask, does each character have specific skills? Like, can Shigemichi's scanner be used to detect Gnosia in some way? Now you're working on my memory, and my memory isn't so good either. I think Shigemichi scanned somebody, and it either said something about salt content, or blood pressure, or something like that. And I would think, again, this is off the top of my head because I don't remember either. I think there was something about does a Gnosia have the same salt content, or does a Gnosia have the same blood pressure reading? If the element is that people get nervous a lot, and a Gnosia is actually calm inside or something like that, then they might have different blood pressure readings. I was just trying to explore the space and what we have on hand. I'm only aware of nolectomy in passing, so I don't know what it's like to live with a body like that. Since Gnosia takes place in 3020, I'll let sci-fi magic assume they've ironed out all of the kinks, but for the purposes of research, I did briefly glance through some nolectomy communities on Reddit and stuff like plastic surgeon websites, and they do account for the urethra, so these people can still pee. The urethra often goes through other organs, but once you've surgically reconstructing the whole area, I assume they can just place it wherever it's convenient. I'm not saying it's something like I'd do, but life finds a way, as they say. I mean, just because you lose your stuff doesn't mean that you have to. Eunuchs are a thing, right? I mean, that's not the way you probably want to go about this, but eunuchs are a thing, and conceivably male. I mean, I guess who most. I never even thought about eunuchs being gendered, but I just always assumed most eunuchs were male, or were male. They still had to use the bathroom somehow, right? And if you really want to go into it, episode 1, episode 2 of my reaction to Apothecary Diaries, we had some pretty interesting comment response back and forth about the nature of being a eunuch and some of the really horrible, horrible ways becoming a eunuch was forced upon you in actual history. So I legitimately don't even remember what I said to prompt you saying this. So anyway, here we are. Also, I didn't mention it in my comment at the time, but I feel like you mentioned they were 11 in your first reaction, and I finally read that in the sequel manga, and yeah, it definitely was an inspiration for Gnosia. I think you got me confused with somebody else. I do not remember ever mentioning they were 11. Maybe a commenter did? Because I do not remember they were 11, so not think it's something I saw. But you know what? I'll just do a quick double check here. So don't mind me if I just bounce around because that's probably something done in editing. Nope, I can for sure say I've never seen that before. Does kind of remind me of Cats, or I guess to a way, way, way distant example of Infinite Rivus, maybe. Also, the easiest way to explain the third gender situation is it's like the opposite of Froll's situation. Froll was a non-human humanoid whose people are born genderless, but then have to decide on whether to become male or female. Setsu and Rokio are humans who were born with a gender and have decided to become people who don't. Gender, just say no. Frold is described in the second manga as being perfectly androgynous, being who has no sexual distinction, and this phrasing is almost identical to Japanese descriptions of Hansai in Gnosia. Hansei. I'm going to assume that Froll is a character in They Were 11, because I do not know where you're pulling Froll from. I remember the first time I was just glancing over your comment before I decided to bring it here, and I saw Froll. And I'm like, did I forget a character? I looked over the board and was like, there's no Froll here. I don't know where Froll is from. Sorry, I actually just decided to quick look it up because I was confused. Yeah, Froll is a character from They Were 11. So, as I said, I didn't bring it up, so I don't know where that's coming from. Does look interesting though. I'll throw that out there. That's maybe how many episodes? They Were 11. By the way, I gotta assume it's stupidly interesting that I ask a question, look it up, and I know future me is gonna edit out the middle spot, so it's gonna be how many episodes? Well, it looks like it's actually a movie. Whatever the fuck is going on with me here. Hour and 31 minutes. At some point in the future, I anticipate I may find myself with time again to just throw stuff in there. I might watch this. Again, it looks interesting. I like the description. The images that you see on Google search when you look it up also looks interesting. I generally like stuff from the 80s to 90s in anime, so who knows? Maybe you've inspired me to look at something new. I'm sorry I've been trying to restrain myself more. It's not always defensive. I just really like explaining stuff. On Gnosia Reddit, you see a lot of people who come in like, hey, I'm playing the game, and someone just said X. What did they mean? And with the game, it's really easy to go, oh, just keep playing it. They'll explain it later. Or, oh, yeah, it's not properly explained. It means this. But the anime is ongoing, so we have no idea what they'll explain and what they won't, which is why I jumped the gun on gender stuff because I felt like it should be clearer than it is now. I shouldn't have mentioned the surgery parts yet, but I think I was writing that comment at 2 a.m. and had previously written rather long-winded explanations for game fans that the translation choices surrounding the concept. Hey, I think I've said it a number of times. My problem is that I've said these things like one time, maybe per episode, not per episode, per series. And the element is that a number of you, and don't worry about this, I understand this completely, are here because you enjoy the thing that I'm reacting to, and not so much of me. And I get that. I'm that way. I will say, oh man, I really like the series. Is there anyone online reacting to the series? And then I'll just find a bunch of random people, and I'll follow them for like 50 episodes or however long, and then they'll never do anything I'm interested in again. We're all here commonly for the things that we enjoy. And I am boring. I'm boring. That's why the channel is called Stone-Faced. That's why the channel is called Stone-Faced Reactions. So, yeah, not a problem. Anyway, that is the notes, that is the board, that is the comments. So, nothing left to do but hop on in and see who this cute dolphin is.
But before we get started,
make sure that you hit the like button,
hit that subscribe button,
comment down below to feed that algorithm.
On top of all that, if you want to watch more shows like this, unfiltered,
uncensored,
and uncut,
as well as some early access stuff,
you can check it out over on the Patreon.
It's just $5 a month, but hey, no pressure.
There's zero pressure in order to do that. It's just a little bit of extra support, and it would be greatly appreciated.
I did not notice the big jacket before. So they're on wheels. Oh, it is what was written on the helmet. They are adorable. Now we really are breaking the rule about everyone has to be human. Yeah, they're a person. Don't be insulting. So isn't this room only have stairs? Sorry, just the element of the ableism at play here. I'm pretty sure we've only seen stairs in the meeting room. So, well, I guess Otome has the wheel thing at the front, so maybe it can dip down and then roll down the stairs, so yeah. Okay, never mind. Problem retracted, assuming it doesn't become a problem later in the episode. There's also the element here, two things, and again, I hate to possibly seem to be ableist here. How can Otome be a threat as a Gnosia? Legitimately, because it feels like they try and kill you, right? But it seems like they barely have arms, and their face is behind a helmet, so I don't think they can, like, gnaw you. I guess, technically, if they can operate something, they can still stab you or something like that. And you're not moving in a warp situation, so I guess they kind of got all the time in the world. Alright, I guess retraction. Because the other one was also how did they escape, because it doesn't seem like they can move pretty fast. So the element that they escaped from the Gnosia while a bunch of other people died just kind of also seems weird. But who knows, maybe they were ahead of the line. I do not remember who we saw in the opening shot. Like, is it the whole crew still, or do we have specific people missing? And yes, I might be obsessed with Otome now. Fucking adorable. Oh, another new person. So it's what, 7, 8 people? Oh, I'm assuming this is going to be the stealth character. This might be the character I was just talking about min-maxing. I didn't need Shigemichi's butt. If I don't really need Eskyu's butt either.
乙女も十分グノーシア汚染される可能性はある。知性があり、こうして会話できてるんだから。私もそう思います。私、乙女は人間だと思う。
I thought they were gonna go through a thing
じゃあ改めて
that Otome was gonna screw up the scanner.
何？
乗員の方があと1名こちらにいらっしゃっていないようですが、
シャーミンさんですか。
何度も連絡をしているのですが、
Is that a code name or a new person?
ユーリ。え？ちょっと付き合ってくれないか。すまない。どうしても彼と一対一で会うのが苦手だ。
I mean, what I was talking about Otome, that if the engineer scans them, it's gonna show as not human, even though they're not Gnosia.
私もそれは分かってるつもりなんだけど、こういう緊急事態の中、協力できない人間っていうだけでどうしても。
Do we have someone not playing the game?
ここ？ああ。シャーミン、シャーミン。
来る頃だと思ってたぜ。さあ来いよセツ。俺におねだりするときは熱いベーゼと言ったはずだぜ。
シャーミン、何度も言ったが私はハンだ。
Is it gonna be a character that we never see?
でもう一人はどちらさん？
Like if there was a shopkeeper on the ship that didn't actually join in and everything?
会議がそろそろ始まる。出てきてくれないか。
言ったろ。俺のことなんて気にせずやってくれって。
私も言ったはずだ。全員で会議を開き、コールドスリープになるものを一人決める。それがレビトの取り決めなんだ。
知らねえよ。下手に出て行ってグノーシアに目つけられたら消されちまうだろ。俺はさ、目立ちたくねえんだよ。アンダースタン？いいね、その怒った顔。
あのな。
無理だぜ。絶対開かないように魔法がかけてある。
I doubt that's true.
出てこなければみんなに迷惑がかかるんだ。
I mean, the element is that nobody else can lock their doors.
どうやら正論ぶっ放す偽善者みてえだな。俺の大嫌いな。
Okay, I think we've seen this guy in the opening.
気に入らねえなら俺に投票して冷凍庫送りにすれば。
すまない。感情的になってしまった。一旦みんなのところに戻ろう。
Also, I think the Gnosia can kill you at a distance, can't they?
ならば答えは出ている。
Because I swear when it was implied that Rakio was killing Yuri, they were standing in front of the fish tank.
はい、全員の同意の上での投票結果であれば問題ありません。
でも本当に言うこと聞くんでしょうか。
扉さん開けられなかったんですよ。
Well, Levi could open the door.
もしコールドスリープを実行できないまま1日以上経過した場合、契約不履行と判断し自爆処理を取らせて。
Legitimately vote him. Levi then opens the door. You drag him to the freezing room.
僕はできないです。喧嘩とか苦手だし。シャーミンさん。
Setsu is a soldier. We know that. They're good at fighting.
おそらくシャーミン様は扉の制御
Never
回
mind.
路を決断していると思われます。そうなると
物理キーか。
物理キ
このように扉に差し込み口があり、ここに符合するキーを刺すことでロックを解除できます。随分昔の技術ですが、この船は古い船を改装して使っているので。
そのキーというのは
倉庫のどこかにあるはずだ。ステラ。
かしこまりました。
Levi can't 3D print a new one?
おそらくこの辺りだと思うのですが。
なんか珍しそうなものがたくさん置いてあるね。
はい、ジョナス様は骨董の収集が趣味ですので。
Yeah, the only stuff not guarded by a field.
よし、俺も手伝うぜ。
あ、触ってはいけません。
え？
外でお待ちください。私がジョナス様に叱られてしまいますので。
なんでジョナスって
ジョナスさん船長ですので。
そういうこと言ってるんじゃねえんだよ。
How to me, you're so fucking cute.
戻っていてもらえますか？ 私一人でできますから。でも、
So I'm just thinking about the logo on the ship. The walls of the ship, the logo seems to be Freemason, the Freemason logo.
でもステラは平気だって。
私も飼われてかわいそうってよく言われたの。けど私は幸せでした。研究員の吉門さんいい人だし。
じゃあこのままでいいっていうのかよ。
I don't know if I'm expected to remember that name, but you know I'm gonna have an area to remember it in, so.
宇宙ブランお待たせ。
重道さん、ステラさんのこととっても好きなんですね。
みたいだけど。
足りねえだろ。ステラは言ってくれたんだ。
電脳か？
ああ、事故でこの人工皮膚にするしかないってなって、意識を全部データ化する。
I'm wondering if these are things I should keep across the boards, the loops, or are they only situational?
私個人の意見ですが、なさらなくてよかったと思いますよ。なさっていたら、その素敵な姿の重道様とお話しすることもできませんでしたから。
I was just realizing, I think the thing goes from behind her ear around the back of her head and, like, in front of her eye, like a readout.
足りねえだろ。
だったらちゃんと伝えてみた方がいいと思うの。え？ステラさんきっとまだ重道さんの気持ちに気づいていないと思うの。だから。
乙女。
Oh no, Otome, you're giving me real Gnosia vibes.
ここにいたか。キーは見つかったのだが、やはり扉は開かなくてね。
Slightly concerning that you two were alone together, as per the last loop, implying that was a negative thing.
ステラ、俺話があるんだけど。
失礼いたします。
ひるんではいけないと思うの。え？ここはキュワワワってなるところなの。
I'm having a hard time here. Otome, I think you might be the Gnosia, but you're also fucking adorable.
俺と勝負しろ。俺が勝ったらステラを自由にするんだ。分かったな。
え？ちょっと待ってよ。それは話が飛躍してないか。
重道さん素敵なの。
Also, the element that Otome implied that they might be happier in captivity. But also, Jonas is crazy, as we learned before.
そうみたい。
意外とやるじゃねえか。このゲームキャプター S を手こずらせると。
Well, remember that. I'm glad they named it because I was about to say, is this 3D chess that we heard about?
すごい。二人ともすごい手順です。こんな戦いに立ち会えるなんて。
そうなの。
何言ってるんですか。あの伝説のゲーマー、ゲームキャプター S と伝説の探査船アルゴーゴ乗組員の対局ですよ。こんなの一生に一度あるかないか。
So it's gonna be fan everywhere, right? To be fair, they never set a condition on what happens if you lose. Wait, what?
今
よもやこの私が敗北しようとはな。
Well, Again, I still don't understand why they don't just go crazy and start killing people. They already know they've been found out.
これであと一人。
Especially when you just give yourself away.
ジョナス様がグノーシア。
ああ、俺が勝負に勝って正体を暴いてやったんだ。これでもうステラは自由だ。
自由。
ああ、あんなヒゲの言うこともう聞かなくていいんだよ。
はあ。
ステラ。
それは
友達からお願いします。
友達？
はい。前から思ってたんです。きっと。
I mean, if I'm right about what I said earlier, which I don't think I really am.
俺、花も好きです。二人で一緒に花育てて。
She's the other Gnosia, and she's about to tear him apart.
ごめんなさい。
Technically, she did tear him apart, just not the way I thought she would.
ステラ。
重道さんかわいそうなの。
それにしても恋人はともかく友達もダメだなんて。
言うな。言わないでくれ。
Is this ship gonna blow up? We haven't voted. I guess technically he went to cryostasis. Never mind, we subverted it that way. We didn't vote it though. We're done doing the vote?
魚好きだって聞いたから。
What? You do eat fish. It's not a dolphin. It's not another dolphin. You do eat fish.
グノーシア探しと違って。
I don't look at a cow and think, oh my god, I'm not gonna eat this hamburger.
考え事？説。何か方法はないかなって思ったけど、男と女のことっていくら考えても難しくて。そうかもね。あ、ごめん。別にハンだって好意を抱くことはあるから。そうなの？
Also, I just imagine it's a general turn of phrase.
ハンになったけど、性別という壁がない分、より純粋に相手のことを思えているような気もする。昨日までいたんだよね、あそこに。昨日。そっか。まだ出発して1日なんだよね、僕たち。うん。もう何度目かの。
Again, I do think Setsu knew Yuri before they got on the ship, even though Setsu said that they didn't. I think they implied that they did before they said that they didn't.
手紙。はい。重道様がどうしてもと。
そんなに重道のこと嫌なの？え？恋人ならともかく友達でしょ？そのくらい。
いえ、嫌なわけではないです。むしろ嬉しいです。こんな私をそう思ってくださるのなら。
だったら
重道様、気づいてないんです。いえ、多分優里様も。わかりませんか？
もしかして。
Was I right? Was I right the whole fucking time?
私のこの体は一個の端末に過ぎません。対人コミュニケーションの円滑化のために。
You're Levi. Okay. Technically right.
それが私。
And kind of right about the whole Levi trying to achieve sentience thing. Sentience thing.
1000年以上前、AI と呼ばれた技術が進化し、人間と変わらぬ知性を持つに至ったものだよ。そうだよね。
はい。ですが、ジョナス様は
Thus explaining the human comment from last episode.
思考が過去でとどまったままで、議事体のことをまるで理解なさいません。ですから、どうにかジョナス様とコミュニケーションを取るために、人間型の端末、ステラを用意したのです。
じゃあ、レビの一部がステラ。
はい、そうなります。もっともそれでもジョナス様は、議事体漫才を行うために私がいると、わけのわからない。
Also, the camera gives you some really interesting shots.
私が人間でないことは確かです。恋とか友達とか、そんな関係を築ける存在では。
そうかな。え？どこでとは言えないけど僕は、ステラがグノーシア汚染されているところを見たことがある。
私が？ま まさかそんなこと。
Yeah, I guess that means you do have a biological component.
セツ様も。
ああ、本当だよ。だからジナが乙女に言ってたのと同じように僕も思う。ステラも乙女も。
And it's kind of a dick move, really, that Levi has been entering the game that determines if people lives and dies when they don't consider themselves human. Meaning they've been taking a spot from everybody they've ever voted. They've voted people to die. Or they voted people to die conceivably in the cryo where it's 50-50 chance you'll live or die.
僕、ギチ体の星で生まれて、友達も家族もギチ体だったので、わかります。きっとうまくいきます。
If your family is AI,
ところで
that means you're a part AI?
告白という単語でレビに選んでもらったらこれがいいって。
ふん。
なんか素敵ですね。
This is certainly like one of the most interesting episodes so far. Oh, don't let it be out of me.
生きてる。
Okay.
シナさんが。
I'm not good at recognizing people's screams.
グノーシアがいる限り人は襲われるんだね。
We didn't even determine who has roles,
どうされますか。
10分だけ時間を。
how many Gnosia there are.
シャーミ、シャーミ。
セツか、どうした？ベーゼの決心がついたか？
出てきてほしい。
言ってるだろ、とっとと投票して選んでくれっつーの。
乙女。
私です。乙女です。
おお、実験動物のイルカだっけ？よかったじゃねえか、逃げ出すことができて。
いいえ、みんな心配してると思うので、早く研究所に帰りたいのです。
骨の髄まで実験動物だな。
They did say that they were happy there.
そんなことないと思うの。吉門さんいい人なのです。いつも頭撫でてくれます。
んなもん、あんたの知性化がうまくいってるうちだけだって。失敗したらすぐゴミ箱にポイだぜ。
シャーミ。
そうかもしれません。でも違うかもしれません。話してみなければそれはわからないと思うの。私、それが人間だと思うのです。
それも嫌だというのなら今すぐエアロックから船外に出てほしい。セツ、思ったんだ。ここに逃げ込んだ者みんな必死で未来を夢見ている。
Is this something we're gonna have to do every thing every time?
君一人のわがままでそれが
Or are they gonna change out of this now for the future loops?
Okay, うんざりだ。
I appreciate he's the only one who's armed.
僕は降参しとくわ。
君がシャーミ。
おう、ユーリよろしく。Understand?
I wouldn't be surprised to find out that they're a fan favorite.
その棒で扉。
最強の鍵だぜ。
They look like a character that would be a fan favorite.
とっとと終わらせようぜ。すぐ消えるからよ。
They said to vote for him, you should have voted for him.
もしかして今わざと。
シャーミンさん、とてもいい人なのかも。
It's very confusing. Oh, legitimately there was only two. You remember before when I said, like, the Gnosia having the best game ever, and it would take 2 to 3 days to win, or was it 3 to 4 days with the 12 people? Like, there's situations here where I can't tell if this was like the comedy episode or subversion episode, but it really feels like this is one of those situations where this is almost best case. The Gnosia can just give themselves away. Because, I mean, I'm saying best case, obviously it's not the best case. We still lost Gino. And as much as Otomi says they might be actually a good person, Sha Ming just killed Gina, right? We all have to accept that even though they gave themselves up to get frozen, like immediately, or, just revealed themselves and then they got voted for and then got frozen. There's no real telling how that sequence of events went. They were the only Gnosia left because Jonas got frozen, they warped, Gina died, and then this one showed themselves to be a Gnosia, meaning they were the only Gnosia. They killed Gina. Otomi saying, oh, I think they're a really good person. Gina's dead. They're a murderer. They killed Gina. I know we don't get a lot of time spent with Gina. Gina didn't seem like she was that bad, so I don't think Gina deserved to die, Otomi. Otomi, you're fucking adorable, and I want to see more of you in the show. You're not a good judge of character. I think that's what I'm learning here. That or this. See, now I'm trying to think of everything in the terms of stats that you guys gave me. Like that other guy who apparently grew up on an AI planet. As much as I love Rockio, I think the AI planet guy is probably me. Hide away, hope other people defend me, loves games. Like, I think that's gotta be it. I'm still gonna root for Rockio every goddamn time. Don't think I'm switching teams, but I'm just saying. I have to think that either this new person, Sha Ming, has intense likability, or I forget whatever stat you guys said was the one to be able to read into people. Otomi is just trusting. Like, maybe that's what's supposed to be implied. They're like, oh yeah, I like being in captivity, and yeah, I like the head pats, and yeah, they probably would throw me away, but I don't know. Maybe that's the thing, that they are gullible is the word coming to my head, but I think it's only because I said it so many times in the note section. Sorry, I just can't think of the word. Happens to me a million times in all these reactions. A word definitely means what I'm looking for, but I can't think of it off the top of my head. Anyway, yeah. Interesting, though. This is the episode we got 3 new characters, and I think that probably puts the count at total, right? That's gotta be everybody. So, are we gonna get new episodes with all the people, or are we still just gonna be switching and intermingling out? Also, the element of, I hope in the future we start getting episodes that don't cover the entire loop in one go. Like, we've been doing a lot where either we have one entire loop in an episode or 2 loops in an episode. I would really like to see a couple of episodes of one loop. Say, give us a cliffhanger where we end on a vote, and then I have the opportunity over a week's time to try and figure out who the Gnosia is, or who they're going to vote for based on the clues. Like, I want the downtime. I want the downtime. I think I've proven that I'm stuck at this shit, trying to guess in the moment. I think we all heard that I thought it was Stella, because she said she had alone time with Jonas. As per the last episode, if I took a picture of you guys together, you were alone. How do you explain that? Dick move, Levi. Dick move, joining in the game where you're literally voting for people to get cryo-frozen, which we know can be a death sentence. You're literally throwing people's lives away. And not for nothing, you're also giving yourself a license sometimes to be an engineer or a doctor or, I guess a guardian angel's on the table now. Taking it away from the humans who you're actually supposed to be trying to help. Like I said, there is more going on with Levi. I know this is probably just a quirky aspect of the game, and this is it. This is as much as we're probably going to see about this, but that's insane to me. I'm probably going to have a lot more notes about that going forwards. Yeah, as I said before, though, I don't quite know if I should keep certain board aspects of character connections represented across things. Like, Shigemichi and Stella, for example. That he's in love with her, does that extend to a future loop, for example? Because how would he represent that in loops where Stella's not there, or Shigemichi's not there? I guess that, yeah, like I said, the whole element of timelines changing all the time really makes me often question what should still be represented or what remains true. Also, I guess if I'm thinking about this in Groundhog's Day respects, like, what is the optimal timeline of events? Clearly, one of them is to get Shigemichi to challenge Jonas, who apparently all you have to do is lose, although Shigemichi's probably not going to lose on purpose, but we've proven that Jonas, if he's a Gnosia, will win anyway, and then just go out talking about being a Gnosia. So in an ideal situation, that is the easiest way to get rid of Jonas. However, someone will still die, because even if they're a good guy Gnosia, they'll still murder somebody, as I think this episode just proved. Otome, fucking adorable, as I said. I was just looking the other day at anime rankings, and was very disappointed that Gnosia wasn't on there. Otome better be on the top girls list of anime ranking now. Fucking adorable. Yeah, sorry, so much happened this episode. This is oddly one of the better episodes, and though the most stuff I disagreed with, how certain characters acted, how certain characters are actually the element that we didn't really play the game. Like, no, maybe the Shaman got voted for and then put in a cryo or something, but it was never on screen. We never did a vote. We never went into the investigative stuff. Both Gnosia just revealed themselves. It was insane. And yet it was still a very enjoyable episode, so I don't know where to go with that. Anyway, as I said, there's a lot to go over here, and I don't think I'm going to be able to hold it all in my head any further. I think I've said the main pieces of what I'm thinking about, so I will come back next time with more notes, spelling it all out. So until then, once again, I have been Theta, this has been Stoneface Reactions, and we will catch you next time. Bye-bye.